Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lili Nishmat, Simi Rochel Mordechai. The Olam wants to thank Michael Harbader on such an unbelievable davening. Unbelievable. I don't know where he is, but it was unbelievable. I don't know. Oh, here he is. Michael, I just thanked you, Barabim, for the unbelievable tefillah, the sweetness, the gewaldigkeit. We're going to jump into the sugya real quickly, but before we do that, I want to read one email from a Maggid Shir. Hi, Rav Eli, I have a great idea for your fundraising campaign. If you start using actual Gemaras for your shir, you can get a lot more sponsors for the turning of the daf. I am 33 years old and I've been a Daf Yomi Maggid Shir for the past 11 years. And I feel that the way I've been giving shir has changed significantly since I started listening to your shiurim. I learned that life can be made very exciting even while teaching and learning. Since I started listening to shiurim, everybody in Koilo waits for me to come in, so things liven up, except maybe for the Rosh Koilo. Thank you for the inspiration. Yehuda Wachman, originally from Lakewood, now in Elad. Elad with a D. Elad. P.S. Elad. Yeah, you're right. In truth, I would really like to listen to Yeshua more often, but there's a big technical issue with Yeshua Makol al-Shon. You hear that, Dave? You know what's going on over there? No. This. I read this yesterday. He says that the shiurim are split in half. They go in funny speeds. Okay. Echo. There are a few shiurim missing. They don't even get the edited one? I haven't heard anyone complain about this, but if you could fix this, it would help tremendously. Thank you again. Rabbi Sai, this is the individual, Shlomo Cooperman. He is Reb Nachum Katz's grandson. He made the introduction, and he interviewed me for Mishpacha magazine. Not exactly sure when it's coming out in Hebrew. Very, very talented individual. He actually had the last 3 or 4 front page articles. Very talented. So, unfortunately for him, fortunately for me, because he interviewed me, he got stuck in MDY. So he does the shir every day. He wasn't doing Daf Yomi before, and he's a big part of the shir. And here he is. He's flying to Rome or whatever, and he sent a picture to show that he's still up with it. Rabbi said, "This is going to be amazing. It's a shtickle pirim dik, but you know that Satmar is not so into the Daf Yomi. There are some of those who do it, but there's some that I think in general their hashkafa is not so into it because it's a good thing." I don't know why and I don't know how this happened, but Hakadosh Baruch Hu has his ways. It seems like the Satmar Rebbe himself does the daf. And with that, the koil of the day, Yitzchok Zilberman, the yahrzeit of my grandfather, Kessel ben Lezer. I think that's what it says over here. Beis Neshama have an aliyah, amen. The Masechta is sponsored by Anonymous for the safe and speedy return of all the hostages. Yishkoyach on the sponsorship. The Paras HaChodesh, Mazal Tov Ahron, Reb Eli, and the entire mishpacha, the birth of Sophia Ruth. What does Rabbi Shlomo want to say?
That meeting had nothing to do with the daf.
Oh, that had nothing to do with the daf? Oh. Okay, Rabbi Schoenberg, thanks for ruining the whole shir for me. I was under the impression that they were all laughing at my jokes over there. Let's go back to the picture. The island is mamish having a no. Oh, I thought they were talking about how to put it into the all daf, the OU all daf thing. Prove it. Listen, if I don't see the screen, I don't know. I thought it's the daf. Nobody told me. I mean, I found the picture online and I thought it was the daf. So John says, "It's an old picture from Super Bowl." If I don't repeat it, then the island's going to send in emails. If I do repeat it, Satmar is going to be out here tomorrow with Afghana. We're going to get buash here. You know what buash is. Anyways, somebody screamed out that it might have been a sporting event or whatever. But Chas V'Sholom, it's what? Mezuzahs? I'm showing from now on, if I ever say these kind of things, please don't correct it. I was going with this. I thought it was good. Fine. They don't do it. They don't do the daf. They might do a daf a day, but they don't call Daf Yomi. They're in a different mesechta. Whatever, they have their way. But nevertheless, for those who go off the derech in Monroe, we have a whole chabura of them. We're not going to throw them under the bus. We won't talk about them. Mizrachi, v'chaverov. Let's go back. There's a parnas achoydish. Ahron Fraiman should be a zechus to Rav Eli. Yeah, I said that. No, I didn't. Ahron Fraiman should be a zechus to Rav Eli for continuing siyadta dishmaya teaching Torah to Klal Yisroel. Amen. If I didn't say this one, parnas achoydish li Nishmat zechariah ben Moshe li Nishmat zechariah bas Yosef. Parnas shavua. Yaakov and Malka Luxenburg li Nishmat Rochel Gittel bas Moshe Yecheskel ben Avraham Moshe den Shom Shel Avraham Eliezer. Parnas hayoyim. Parnas tzlachim. Parnas refuah shleima l'chol chayli am Yisrael. Amen. Parnas hayoyim. Duvid Hoffman in honor of my bro Alter for joining the daf and all the Monsey MDY firefighters. Gevaldik. Ira Greenstein, all the firefighters. Ira Greenstein, zechus Nishmat, Avraham Eliezer, R Zvi Hirsh Friedman, zechus Rochel. Listen to this one. Fourth day, Parnas. Bitcoin hitting all-time high. Looking forward to sponsoring again at $100,000. Amen. He has shifas.
Please don't buy it.
Please don't buy Bitcoin. Well, I hope it goes up for all those Yidden that invested. And
Yes, but don't buy that.
Elvis is a mumche in Bitcoin. He says don't buy it. What else are you a mumche in? The same type of mumche like the guy that told me I should buy it. Kids, don't listen to anybody. The art of the month, sponsored by analysis, zechus for an easy childbirth, his daughter and a healthy baby. But I like this guy. One day, when I'll have a lot of money, I'll give $100,000 to MDY. Gevaldik. Okay, listen, at least people have shifas.
When Bitcoin hits $100,000, then maybe he'll donate again.
Looking forward to sponsoring again at $100,000. Where is it now?
Yeah, it's 72. It's high.
So he'll give $18 when it hits 100,000. Oh. I'll get a bigger donation from Satam Rebbe, probably. All right. Rabbi Isai, today we're going to learn some beautiful musagim. Whether you understand the sugya or not is not important, as long as we come out of this sugya knowing what the following things are. What's a shtar hakna? Does anybody know what a shtar hakna is? No. Okay. Shtar mugdam, we all heard of, we have no idea what it is. Okay, so at least those two things. Let's try to learn those two things. But I have a shayla before we start. I have an interesting question that comes with a very interesting story. The story I will get to in a few minutes. But the question is like this. I had the opportunity a few times to rummage through Geniza boxes. And occasionally you find a pair of tefillin. Usually they're damaged, water damage, whatever. What if you rummage through the Geniza, you find a perfectly fit pair of tefillin, you open it up, beautiful ksav, everything is great. Can you think of an issue with these tefillin? Is there a problem with these tefillin? What if you find a Megillah? Here's another question. A Megillah, Megillas Esther. You find a gorgeous Megillas Esther in the Geniza. What could possibly, there's no Shem Hashem, what could possibly be wrong with a Megillah? It's made out of cloth, it's written by a sofer. What could possibly be wrong with this Megillah? Written by a woman. Okay. Mafreya on a Megillah. A goy. Okay. Okay, most likely. Why he find here in Bet Shemesh Megillah. What happened? The guy found out it was written by a woman. He threw it into the. I'm going to tell you a nerdic story soon. You're not going to believe this. So the question really is, based on what we're going to be learning, that sometimes you find something in the street, the fact that you found it, just the actual fact that you found it shows that something's wrong here. Why would somebody put it in the Geniza? Why would somebody drop $1 million shtar? There must be something wrong. So let's see the Heilige Mishnah, sponsored by Moshe Cohen, the Heilige Moshe Cohen, the zechus. They should have tremendous hatzlacha in Gashmias and in Ruchnias. Matzah Shitrei Choiv. He's not a sponsor. Okay, you should still have a tremendous zechus. Why not? No, Hakadosh Baruch Hu should give him. He gave in the past. That's enough. Says the Mishnah. Matzo shidrei choiv. Person is walking down the street. He finds a document saying that Reuven owes Shimon $1 million. What do you do with it? If you give it back to the malva, to the lender, then you could really damage the loiva. If you don't give it back, you can damage it. So, see, what do you do? Matzo shidrei choiv. So it depends. Im yesh b'hem achrayis nechasim lo yachzer. So this word achrayis nechasim, I need everybody to get out of their trauma from yeshiva. It's a simple concept. This is the concept right over here. You see that chain? Boom. That's achrayis nechasim. If in the document it mentions real estate, then the document is connected, and there's a lien on the loan. The loan has a lien, the real estate. I have an apartment. I said, lend me $1 million. I'm putting my apartment on the shtar. So that's it. Now I could sell the apartment. I could do whatever I want to the apartment. At the end of the day, the lender is going to go and take the apartment back from whoever bought it, or he'll take it back from you. Achrayus nechasim. There's a guarantee with property. That's all it means. Basically, the word is lien, and a lien means real estate. That's it. So again, Matza shidrei choiv, you found a shtar. Im yesh b'hem achrayus nechasim, if it talks about a lien, it talks about real estate in the shtar, there's a shibud lo yachzir. You should not give the shtar back. Why? Shebezdin Fraiman. This is a dangerous shtar to give back. Because if you give it back, what if it's not a good shtar? Now, what's going on here? Does the loiva admit that he borrowed money? Did he not admit? We're going to see in the Gemara Machlokes. Let's say the loiva admits that he borrowed money. So everything's great, right? No, not everything is so kosher. There's still big issues. We'll see in the Gemara what the issues could be. If there's an attachment of real estate to the shtar, do not give it back. But if there's no mention of real estate, so the only thing the guy could go after is metaltalin, your computers, bikes, furniture. Then yachzer, you can give it back. She'ein bezdin Fraiman, because bezdin doesn't collect from those items. This is the sheet of Reb Meir. Do not give it back. It's problematic because bezdin will come and collect from the metaltalin. Says the Gemara b'mayaskinon. What's the case? If the loiva admits that he owes money, so what if there's an attachment of real estate here? Give it back to the malva. The loiva admits he owes $1 million. So doesn't the malva deserve $1 million? Hamoida, he admits. And believe it or not, most Pirushim that we're going to see, 2 out of 3, talking about that the loiva admits. And if the loiva doesn't admit that he owes money, why should he give it back? He doesn't admit. You're right. There's no attachment to real estate. He won't get real estate. You're harming the loiva by giving it back. Says the Gemara, we're talking about that the loiva admits that he owes money. We're concerned that perhaps he wrote the document in Nisan, and he only took the money out 6 months later, and he might go and he'll take the property out of the buyer against the halacha. Here is the case, Rabbi Eli. We have a loiva. The loiva on the right, he writes a document that he owes money. Let's say he's in Eretz Yisrael, he learns in Koilel, he wants to borrow money for Pesach. Okay, he's a little short on cash for matzahs and maror and wine and all the stuff you need for Pesach. He writes a document saying, I owe the Gemach $1,000. And then all of a sudden the koil gives him a nice amount of matzah that he wasn't aware of, and Benny, he gives the koil chickens, Erev Yontif, and also, wow, it's coming in. He doesn't need the money. He says, you know what, I don't need it now. You know, Sukkos Tishrei, I need the Daled Minim, I'll go borrow money in a half a year from now. Well, but I already wrote a star. Mom, it's a shame on all the cipher. You know, you have to go to the cipher and he writes it out. Okay, so I'll keep it. So what happens? It says in the star Nisan, because he wants to buy matzahs in Nisan. It already says Nisan. And it says that there's an attachment. He tells the Gemach, don't worry about it. My little apartment, my one bedroom, it's going to be a lien. I have a lien on the property. Does that karka have anything to do with the lender? No, it has nothing to do with the lender. But it says in the star that it has to do with the lender. Okay. Then he goes, step 2, goes ahead and sells his apartment. Is he allowed to sell his apartment? Yes. He never borrowed money. If he borrows money now, after he sold the apartment, could the lender take the property back? No, because there's no lien on it. So he goes ahead and he borrows money in Tishrei from the Gemach, from the lender. And now the lender has a fake star that says that there's an attachment of real estate to this loan. And that's going to mess up the guy in the middle, the buyer, who bought it properly, and there's no lien on it when he bought it. But there's a fake star out there that says the word Nisan in it, that the lien occurred before the sale. And therefore, Mr. Gmach guy, all the way to the left, the Malva, look what's going to happen. Now, the star fell away somewhere, fell down. And they're going to give it back to the Malva. He said, oh, the loiv admits that he borrowed money. And the Malva is going to snatch away that karka illegally. That's the problem. So that's basically a star mugdam. That's a star that was written with the wrong date. The date predated the sale of the real estate. And the Malva had no business taking away that piece of real estate from the leikeach. Typically speaking, in those days at least, when somebody wrote a document with a lien on real estate, people found out about it. The Eidim was their job. They went around telling people, you heard, we signed the star that has a... So people know to stay away from that karka. Today we have title companies that tell you these things. There's loans attached. There's first position, second positions. Okay, so people do it for us. In those days, they relied more on people schmoozing. So if we see it inside, like 6 lines from the bottom, we are concerned that he wrote a document without taking out a loan. So in the document it says Nisan, but he didn't take out the loan until 6 months later in Tishrei. And in the middle, you have to stick this in, it was so simple to the Gemara, in the middle, the loiva went ahead and he sold the karka to Mr. Leikeach before the loan. And the Malva will come and take away the real estate against the halacha. As the Gemara Yachi calls shtarin the asal kaman nechish lu hachi. So if so, every star that comes in front of us, how do we know? Maybe it says in the star Nisan, but really the loan only happened in Tishrei. I mean, why is it only in this case where you found the star we're so concerned? Says the Gemara, called shtare loy riye. No star has a flaw in it. There's no reason to believe that something's wrong. Hane riye. Why in the world did you find the star? Who in the right mind drops $1 million loan document? It's something you hold on for dear life. Something that you appreciate, you don't drop. Obviously, there's something wrong here. So, going back to that Maisa, and I'm not passing anything, I'm just saying it because Gishmak is before Purim. I know a guy. Well, I shouldn't say I know a guy. I know a guy that knows this cipher very, very well. A young cipher wrote 6 Megillas, 6. and he sold every single one for a nice amount of money. Great. He went to speak to somebody, and someone says, wow, you wrote the Megillah, da-da-da. No, so you had in mind when you're writing the Megillah, the Kedushas Megillah. He says, Kedushas Megillah, what are you talking about? There's no Shem Hashem in the Megillah. He said, I know, but do you have in mind to write a Megillas Esther, or are you just spacing out and writing because you want to make money? He said, no, I was writing because I want to make money. He says, then all your Megillas are apostle. You have to have in mind L'Shem Kedushas Megillah. If you don't have that Kavana, whatever you're thinking about, you're just writing down the story of the Megillas Esther, or you're practicing your cipher, you're trying to knock out 6 Megillas without having the proper Kavana, apostle. In other words, it's no better than a Chumash. So go, use it as a Chumash. But it's not a Megillah that you could charge $3,000 for. So the guy had to go and buy his Megillas back from all those 6 people. It's a true story.
Can't make a fix it.
No, you can't have Lishma retroactively. As you write it. Yeah, if you rewrite the entire thing, you go over each letter. Anyway, so I'm just saying, you find the Megillah in the Geniza. I don't know. You have to start. Why is this Megillah here? There's a Reusa. There's a flaw here. Why am I finding it in the Geniza? You have to ask yourself. Whether or not that's the halacha, I don't know. Just saying. Elahadisnan, 3 lines from the bottom. There's a Mishnah in Bava Basra. I made a cheshbon, even though it's the next Masechta. We will get there in 9 months from now. It's the end of Bava Basra. We're in the beginning of Bava Metzia. It's only 1 Masechta away. 9 months. 9 months later, we get to the Mishnah. You hear this? It's a Mishnah. It's the middle of Bava, at the end of Bava. 10 daf before that. You're allowed to write. You're allowed to write a star for a loiva. Here's the picture. Maybe it says not okay. You're allowed to write a star according to the Mishnah for the loiva, even though the malva is not with him. So ask the Gemara, lechatchila heichi kasvinu. How could you write such a thing? Maybe there's a flaw. The malva is not here. He didn't lend the money. So maybe the loiva wrote it. Okay. And then he couldn't get the loan like he anticipated. How many times has it happened to us? We want to get loans. At least in the real estate business, you always want to get a loan and you think you're getting it. You're going to close by Monday. And all of a sudden they tell you, it's not Monday, it's next month. It happens. So now you have the star. You already did all the work with the lawyers and everything. So you're going to throw it out? No. So it says Nisan. You don't have a computer, just erase Nisan, put in Tishrei. So you leave the Nisan. But they love out Tishrei and he didn't borrow money until Tishrei. You're going to take the property from the people that bought the property after the writing of the star, but before the loan. So now we have a new musing in Shas called a shtar akna. Shtar akna means that in the shtar it says, even though I'm not taking a loan, you can still have my property. Okay, later on they'll take a loan and it'll go retroactive, but right now, don't worry. I want a line of credit, let's say. Here, I'm writing you a shtar. Take my property is on file with you. You can take my property. Whenever you decide to give me, whenever I come and I draw money out of my line, you'll come and take the property. But right now, from today on, you have my property. Shtar akna. The Shabbat nafshei, Zim Shabbat himself. The Bacharim in Reb Ber's yeshiva, they were debating for at least a week. What does the word shibud mean? What is shibud? Is shibud a half a kinyan? Is it a kinyan on Tnai? What exactly is a shibud? I don't even know what they were asking. Whatever. Let's just say those 2 things. Kids, one bacher had the unbelievable opportunity to be on a train, and who comes onto the train? Reb Ber himself. So he's all excited. He's going to finally figure this out. So he goes up to Reb Ber, says, "The Shiva is shibud a kinyan on Tnai, or is it a chatzi kinyan? What exactly?" He looks at him and he says, "Shibud is a shibud." So the Bachar goes back to Yeshiva. He says, the Yeshiva said, "Shibud is a shibud." So the Bachar worked on it for 2 more weeks to understand what does shibud is a shibud mean. Did he mean shibud is a shibud? Okay, fine. All I know is that Reb Baruch Ber used to teach his Bachram approximately 50 daf a year. And we, in Yeshiva, we used to learn like 5-6 daf a year, learning Reb Baruch Ber. So we didn't miss a single Reb Baruch Ber. So I don't know how the math works. He used to learn 50, but we used to learn 5 learning him. So I don't know. Kitzer, then I saw Moira, this is unbelievable. Don't tell this to the Yeshiva Bachram, it'll make them depressed, and they'll have 600 tiruts and why this is a shtus, what I'm about to say. But Reb Chaim Brisker said that if you don't learn 40 daf Gemara a month, you're not Maretz. So the Brisker Rav said, you know what, maybe exaggerate a little bit, we can knock it down to 20. We learned 30, right? We learned that. Okay, so we're like in between. But this idea of learning a daf, I just spoke to a yeshiva guy, I'm not going to say his yeshiva. He's a very, very famous yeshiva, one of the top yeshivas in R Zvi. From Elul till today, 3 daf. It's a new zach. It's something new that even those who they're learning Reb Chaim's, they're learning the Brisker Ravs, and he's saying you have to learn 40 daf a month. Okay, I get it. It's a little bit too much. But Rabbi R Eli learns, I don't know, Amud a day or whatever. Okay, fine. Ayin Chum. But 3 daf in 6 months, in a long month, it's unbelievable. Okay, I don't think they meant that. Says the Gemara. Our Mishnah. It says in our Mishnah, if you have achrayis nechasim, Rabbi, so what's achrayis nechasim without the trauma? Real estate. If there's real estate attached to the shtar, lo yachzer, don't give it back. We already established that the loiv admits that there's a loan. And what's the problem? We're doing chazar now. He might have written the shtar Nisan and the loan only happened 6 months later. And the malva, the lender, is going to take the real estate that was sold in between the writing of the shtar and the loan. Ask the Gemara, according to you that we're talking about a shtar hakna, the top 2 words of the Amud. Special shtar. It says in the shtar that you could have my real estate even from today. So what's the big deal? Give it back. You're right, the shibud, a shibud is a shibud, started today, from the time you wrote the shtar. There is no fake shtar anymore. This shtar, this Nissan shtar, if I could get there, it's a loaded file, so it's very hard for it. Okay. The shtar that was written all the way on the right is perfect. That's when it starts. It actually starts in Nissan. You're telling me no, it starts when the loan was given in Tishrei 6 months later. Not true. It's a shtar hakana. It starts today. He's Meshavet himself. Reb Hershel Miriminov, the Riminov, he says that we say every morning, a lot of people say every morning before you put on tefillin, how's it go? Oy vey. I say it every day and I don't even know how to say it from the middle of the thing. Okay. Huh? Lavadosi is Baruch Shemoy. Okay. So he says, the Bezer Hashem, when you mishav yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then when the Yetzer Hara comes to you, I'm putting in my own words. When the Yetzer Hara comes to you in the middle of the day, hey, I'm already mishuv to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Shaloi Kedin, what you're doing. Shaloi Kedin. I stuck in the Shaloi Kedin part. Fine, Shaloi Kedin. Akoponim, Amay lo yachzer, give it back to the malva. Nechzi, ibishtar kno hoshav alei nafshei. If we're talking about one of these stars that say that you could start today, so he already was mishabeso. Ibishtar the lo yakno, if it doesn't say in this shtar that you can take my real estate today, leke lemechash, there's nothing to be concerned about. Do amris ki leke malva bahadei leke svinon. We said that if the malva is there, then you shouldn't write leke malva bahadei leke svinon. So Rashi says, what's leke malva bahadei? You don't see the malva actually giving the money. You don't write a shtar. Even though when it's a shtar that doesn't have, you can't start taking the real estate today. And the malva is not there, you don't write. But so you ask me, so give it back. Given the nafal, once it fell, once you found it in the middle of the street, itrale, it's flawed. We're concerned that maybe somebody was over the halacha and wrote the shtar even though he's not supposed to. Abaye Omar, and Abaye says, Eidov b'chisumov b'chasumov zachin loy. So Abaye says very interesting halacha. He says this right over here. Oops. Let's do it again. Look what happens in the bottom, Rabbi said. Look what happened in the bottom. When the Eidim sign the shtar, that's when there's an attachment of real estate. Not when there's a loan. The signing of the shtar. Vafilu shtari the lavakno. Even a regular shtar, a typical shtar, a loan document without a special idea that you could start taking real estate immediately. A regular shtar, you don't take real estate right away. The Eidim are what caused the shibud. The Eidim start the lien. Mishum the kashile, because Abai had a question on Ravasi. Given the Amris b'shtarit the lavakno. Since you told me that in a regular shtar, when there's no malva, we don't write the shtar. Like so, according to you, there shouldn't be any issue. Why can't you give it back? So that's why Abaye sticks in. No, we're not concerned. You're concerned, Ravasi. There's no problem. But I'm telling you, the problem is the reason why I can't give it back is not because maybe they wrote it. We're not concerned maybe they're going to write the ikri. It will happen. Somebody will be over the halach and write a shtar when they're not supposed to write a shtar. I'm concerned that the signing of the Eidim, the signing of the Eidim puts it into effect. Elaha desnan. What about, it says, Motza gitin Hashem, I haven't used this in a while. I got to show you. This is worth gold because it's illegal for a sofer to write a get. And this is legit. We got a sofer, underground sofer. We paid him big ma, and he wrote a get. The only thing is that it says Donald Ben Trump. It's one of his many gitin that he used. Whatever, we have original get. Bamis. Here we go.
Which one is for?
You have to read the get to see. I think it says. Here's the name. Arpa, the Miscaria Opera. Arpa, the Miscaria Opera. Fine. That wife. Shoin, a guy finds this in the street. He finds a get. Mamish finds a get. Now we're not going to be talking about these two because they're not important to our sugya. What's more important here, the Shichur Avadim, a shtar that shows that the slave is left free. Daitiki. Daitiki means a person, we have a picture. This is Daitiki. A person is on his deathbed and he gives away all his nechasim. I was thinking as a mashal, I thought it would be a great video, but I didn't have the opportunity to do it. Maybe one day. As I was learning this Gemara, it like a 3D came through my head. Imagine this guy is dying and he calls up his nephew. And he says, Yankel, and he's about to tell him that he's dying and he wants to give him his $50 million. And Yankel's at work. He says, Uncle, I told you 10 times, don't ever call me during the day, okay? I'm very busy. And he's like, I just want to say goodbye. He hangs up on him. And then this guy, he doesn't know what to do. So he calls up Yankel's sister and he says, hello, here's $50 million. That was my video. Like, missing opportunities. You never know what, don't hang up the phone like that on the dying guy. Has to do with the daf, has to do with mitzvahs, whatever. Everybody's sticking their own thing. But that's the video I want to do. One day, the guy's on his deathbed. He gives away everything to somebody, and the guy finds a shtar. Matana. A guy writes in a gift. I'm giving you my house as a gift. It falls on the floor somewhere. V'shoivarim, receipts. I paid back $1 million loan. You find this document, maybe somebody wrote it. The guy dying wrote it, but he never gave it to his nephew. We have a question on Abaye. According to Abaye, that what causes the whole shibud? The Eidim, the signing of the Eidim. Who cares? It's the signing. Says the Gemara, when the guy that's dying gives it to his nephew, then it goes into effect through the Eidim and started with the Eidim. Just as derech agav, real quickly, Rashi says, how in the world do you have a shtar mukdam? According to Abaya, it starts with the signing of the Edom. So whenever they sign in Nisan, so the shtar starts in Nisan. So real quickly, what Rashi says is one pshat, that it was written and signed in Tishrei. But it says in the shtar the wrong date. It says that it happened 6 months earlier. That's a shtar mukdam. Okay. Not to get confused, let's go weiter. It says in our Mishnah, you found a document that says somebody owes money. Don't give it back. Thank you. If there's a guarantee with a lien on real estate, don't give it back. We said that the loiva admits. Because of the whole story, maybe he wrote a shtar in Nisan, and he only took out the loan in Tishrei. Rav Asi explains the Mishnah Bava Metzia. Remember, I told you to remember 3 lines from the bottom over here. You write a shtar to the loiv even though the malva is not there. And we explained it, the top words of our Amud Beis Hakna, talking about a special shtar that lets you give the guy your real estate even though he didn't give you a loan. So our mission is going to be talking about a regular document, not a shtar of akniyasa. A regular document you cannot use. There is no real estate right away, and therefore we're concerned maybe it was written in Nisan and the loan only happened in Tishrei, and you're taking away the real estate that was sold in the middle. Shaloi kedin. But according to Rabbi, that it all starts with the signatures of the witnesses. What chashash is there? So what? He might have written the shtar in Nisan and only took out a loan in Tishrei. Who cares? The real estate, everything starts from the time that the Edom signed in Nisan. So the actual document did start in Nisan. What's the problem? So you should give back the shtar. So here's another muslik today. Kinunya. Kinunya means shtikmacher, a shtik, collusion, a kombina in Hebrew. This is what happened there. Oops. You ready? The guy, the loiva, borrows money from the malva. Everything is good. He gets money, he gets a shtar. That's great. What also is great is that the loiva actually returns it. This never happened, but the Gemara is theoretic. Theory. In theory, it once happened that a guy paid back his loan. Boom. Okay, so it happened. So now, everything is good. The problem is that the shtar got lost, and under the table, let's do that again. No, the guy, the loiva, gives the malva the shtar under the table. He gives it back to him. He says, let's do this again. But what do they gain? They gain that the loiva is going to sell his real estate. There's no shtar. There's nothing, there's no loan. He sells his real estate. Then the malva is going to come to the loiva, pay me. So he says, I don't have what to do. Oh, you sold your real estate. Let me go. Let's take the real estate. They're going to steal the real estate from an unsuspecting customer. And look what happens. Beautiful. Here, the malva takes the real estate, and he's a nice guy. Look what he does. He gives half to the loiva. They make a deal. That's called knunya, shtik. Okay, so we're concerned, if you find a shtar like this, don't give it back to the malva, because maybe they're making shtik over here. So real quickly, if we look so far, we had 2 shittas in Remeir. One shitta is that the loiva admitted that he owes money, and if there's no achrayas, nechasim, there's no real estate, you can give it back. If there's achrayas, if there is real estate on the shtar, you should not give it back. Why? Because maybe they wrote the shtar in Nisan, and the loan happened in Tishrei. That's called mukdam. The second shot we just had, the second is the loiva admits that there was a loan, and if there's achrayus, if there's real estate attached, don't give it back, because we're concerned maybe they'll make a collusion, they'll have a collusion, they'll make shtik, kombina, whatever you want to call it. Real quickly, because we have plenty of time, so I'll tell you this Moridika Maisa that happened with Reb Shalom says over Maisa. He says sometimes you can do shtik shtick works, l'toyelas, for a mitzvah. This kind of shtick right here, the what? Very wealthy individual was asked by the entire city if he could sign a loan to the government because the homes in that village were burnt down to the ground and they all had to rebuild. And the government said, okay, I'll give you a 25-year loan, but I need somebody to sign on it. So he signed responsibility. Many, many years later, he was getting older. He had a son that was not 100% in terms of Yiddishkeit or whatever it was. At least socially and emotionally it wasn't there. So this son started taking over the business. And when he felt that he had enough control over the business, he took over his father's house and he tried to put his father in a nursing home and kids said, get rid of his father. So the father went to the Rav and he told the Rav the situation. So the Rav said, listen, I have an idea for you. Remember you once signed on a loan 25 years ago? Yeah, it's coming up any day. Over the 25 years, we already collected all the money from citizens. They paid back. So we have the money to give back to the government. What we're going to do is, you're not going to give the money back to the government. Okay, so the government comes and they say, give back. He says, I have nothing. So he says, okay, we're going to take your factory, we're going to take your house, we're going to take all your stuff. And that's what they did. They took everything. So who lost? The son. The son lost his factory, the house, everything he tried to steal from his father, the government took. And then the father got all the cash. And once the son, says Rochel, once the son had zero, he realized that what he did was wrong. And then he came begging for mechila, slicha from his father, but they did a knunya, sort of a knunya. According to Shmuel, we're not concerned that the loiv actually paid off the loan, and now they want to reuse the shtar and go over and do it again. Michael and Meimar, why don't you give back the shtar? What's the problem? What's the concern? Give it back to the malva. Says Gemara, that's okay. Like we said before, that we're going to go, if you hold like a Ravasi, we're going to say that our mission is talking about a regular loan, not a special shtar that starts right now. And a regular loan, the shibud only starts when you give the loan, and everything is good. That's why you don't give it back. We're concerned that maybe you wrote it in Nisan, made a loan in Tishrei. But if Shmuel holds like a Abaya, I want to say that Shmuel can hold like everybody. So if Shmuel holds like Abaya, then what does Abaya hold? The loan starts. The shibud on the karka starts by the signature of the Eidim, Michael and Meimar. Why don't you give it back? What concern is there? Yes, I wrote a shtar in Nisan, I wrote it early, but it started in Nisan. Everything's good. Give it back. I'll say yes, he could hold like a Abaya. And it does start with the Eidim. But check this out on the chart. Now we're going to a third pshat. The loiva doesn't agree. The first two pshatim, the loiva admits that there's a loan. No, I don't admit. So if I don't admit that there's a loan, you have no business giving it back to the malva. Why giving it back to the malva? And the fact that you found it, the fact that there's Eidim in it? No. The shtar is a bad shtar. How did you find it in the street? Who drops the shtar? The whole reyes are going on here. If the loiva doesn't admit that he took a loan, so how come if there's no real estate attached to the shtar, you could give it back, but the malva is going to go after the guy's bikes and computers and all his furniture? You're still going to damage the loiva because the malva will go after the loiva for the metaltalin. Says the Gemara, it's not a problem. Shmuel Tamei, there's a sheet that says you don't go after metaltalin. So that's why you see in the green column on number 3, you could give back the shtar. Why? Because Shmuel is of the opinion that when you have a shtar that doesn't talk about real estate, the malva can't do anything with it. He can't collect. You don't collect. So then what's the fight about Rabbi Isai? He can't collect anyway. What's the answer, Rabbi Isai? You're right. There's nothing to do with the shtar. The only thing you can do with the shtar is to put it on top of a bottle. Here's the picture. But the Gemara's kasha is, the Achronim ask a kasha. We said in Daf Zayin, you have nothing to do with it. The only thing you can do with it is lotzah pitz l'chusay. The Gemara makes fun, like there's nothing to do with it. It's worthless. Now all of a sudden the Gemara is using that as a reason why there's a big fight here. So Gemara says that the Rashash says over there is talking about there's a typhus and a tyref, and the Gemara says, so what's the difference between a typhus and a tyref? You're only going to put it over your battle. There's no difference. The battle doesn't care if you're using a typhus or a tyref, so to speak. Okay, it doesn't have that much value. But the Gemara keeps on going. It has, let's say it's worth $1. I'm using it as a corkscrew. But how's it so if so, give it back to the loiva. Why are you giving it back to the malva? So the Gemara, no, you don't give it back to the loiva. Loiva who? How can you give it back to the loiva when the loiva himself says it's not a star? I never borrowed money, so why would you give him a corkscrew? Give the corkscrew to the malva. Now if you give him Amud Beis, the cork. Sorry, you're right. The cork. You know why I'm saying corkscrew? Let me say this quickly. Gary, a maisa, mamsha maisa. One thing that stuck out from going to Gary's shiva, twice I went. He said a beautiful story. They through the Levi, they were saying how his mother never raised her voice. She never got angry at anybody. The whole thing. So Gary said a story, and he showed me the chair. His son showed me the chair. His mother bought brand new dining room chairs, and the first day they had them, Gary's son took a corkscrew and made a massive hole, this big, in the chair. And everybody started screaming, they finally made it. And you have to understand, the simplest people, they never made a purchase, nothing. It was the first time in many, many years that they bought something nice for the house. And it's there for an hour, boom, he rips the whole chair. And she said, it's just a chair, it's just a chair. And I said, to me, it means a lot because the week we got these chairs, so MDY kids, one of the Chachmei MDY kids, was playing with a pen and got black ink on our brand new chairs and all over the table. And, I felt bad for chairmarket.com. They just donated these beautiful chairs. Each one is like $250, $300, whatever it is. It's like mamish everywhere. And then we were able to get thechairmarket.com. At then we were able to get it out. But I remember the feeling, brand new chairs. You remember that story? It was all over. Wow. We almost shut down MDY kids that day. Omar Reb Eliezer. Machloikis b'she'ein chayev moida. Oh, I was in the middle of the sponsors here. It's just cheers, Rabbi says. It's just cheers. Turning the daf, Kidnovations LLC in honor of my uncle Reb Elchanan Pressman is zechus for Akiva Simcha Ben Feiga. By Ner Tamid of Baltimore, Maryland, in honor of official Simcha Gross, thanks to them, 130. We say these numbers and 137. 137 people learned the entire Masechta, which equals out to over 16,000 daf and over 727,000 minutes of Torah without emails. The machlokes that we had in the Mishnah. You find the document. Could you give it back? Yes, no. We had a machlokes. Rameir says, give it back. Rabban say, no. Machlokes b'shein chayev moida. It's talking about, what's this? Okay. Yisrael Shalitsky's birthday today. He's a chosh of a guy in the shir. So we're going to say, and the guy's on Zoom. Shalom Aleichem, guys on Zoom. That'll be instead of me coming afterwards and schmoozing with you. Hi, gesund. Adios. You guys are up. I'm surprised. It's one of those dapim, you know what I'm saying? But Shas has these kind of dapim. Now we're familiar with knunya, with all these gewaldige stuff. Next time we have it, shtar mugdam, huh? Don't do knunya unless you really need to against your own son. The Okay. The whole machlokes is when Reb Eliezer argues. Before we said we're talking about in Remeir, we're talking about when the loiva admits, Shmuel says not. Machlokes shein chayev moida. The loiva doesn't admit that there was a loan. The Remeir sova shtar shein b'achrayis nechasim enu goyva leim mishav leivnei chari. Remeir holds that if you have a shtar that doesn't have real estate attached to it, you can't do anything with it. So give it back to him. What's the big deal? He's not going to be able to take real estate. Why? Because there's no real estate in the shtar. He's not going to be able to take your bike because you don't take bikes when you have a shtar without real estate. Rabban Tzavring. It's in parentheses. Some take it out. I don't think it makes okay. We'll read it. No, there's a problem here because you can take from Bnei Chayrim. So don't give it back. He'll hurt the loiva if you take it back. Says Reb Eliezer, if the loiva admits the re'akol yachzer. So let's just see in the chart how it looks, because we're coming up with a small machlokes. They say the opposite of each other. Reb Eliezer says we're talking about the loiva doesn't admit, and the reason why you give it back, even though the loiva did not admit, because you can't do anything with the shtar. It's worthless. It's a worthless piece of paper. You can't collect with it. I'm sorry, but if the loiva admits, everybody, even Chacham will say give it back. I'm not concerned the baya. I'm not concerned the Ravasi. I'm not concerned there's going to be collusion. I'm not concerned, like Ravasi says, that maybe it was written in Nisan and then they're going to take out a loan in Tishrei. I'm not concerned of anything. Rabbi Yochanan says, let's see Rabbi Yochanan. No, the loiva does admit. He admits that there's a loan. So why does Rabbi Meir say give it back? Because they only take from Bnei Chayrin. And we're talking about there's no shibud nechasim here. There's no karka attached. The Rabbi Meir saw shtar shein bo achrayis nechasim mimishad deloy gavi al Bnei Chayrin mikve gavi. So if you admit you owe somebody $100,000, so pay it and take the furniture. What's the concern? That you might have sold your real estate and we're going to take the guy's real estate shaloi kedin? It's a shtar without real estate. That's not a concern. So there's no concern about real estate. What about your own personal items? Good, pay. You admit that you have a loan, so pay. By the way, this is going to hurt people, and people don't like when I say this, and I say it anyway. If people owe money, and a lot of people owe money, they say, I don't have money. So the answer to that is, well, you have an apartment. Your apartment is worth $1 million. You have to sell your apartment, halachically. I don't know of an excuse of not to sell an apartment. People don't like that. They say, well, where am I going to live? Well, you owe the guy money. You got to do what you got to do to pay back. It's not comfortable. And Baruch Hashem, I'm not in that position, so I shouldn't be talking, but I'm just saying halacha. You owe money, and you have something that has $1 million value. So what's the reason? What's your excuse of not paying? You don't have to live, so you'll rent. It's very uncomfortable. I get it. Okay, do what you want. Ask your rabbi. I'm just throwing it out there. That's what I think. Rabbanan Sabri, a lot of people get mad at me when I say it. Good. Push some buttons now. Rabbanan Sabri, Mishab Dinami Gavi. What? What's the chiddush? He's saying, what's the chiddush? People that owe money say it's a chiddush. They say, no, I'm not chuyiv to sell. Chuyiv to go out of my way and sell and live in a smaller apartment, live there. I want to live in Yerushalayim in this $2 million mansion. I don't have any money. What are you saying, Rabbi Schoenberg?
In American law, they don't take away your
Oh, in Israel they'll take away apartment?
But in Jewish law,
yeah.
you're expected to rent.
Not everywhere. In some states, most places in the United States, you can foreclose on somebody's house.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck in foreclosing. Okay, foreclosing. I know somebody in Israel that foreclose. In Israel, they'll actually put you in jail sometimes for owing money, I think. That's what I heard. Okay, fine. Let's go weiter. Rabbanan say no. So you cannot give back the shtar because I'm concerned of knunya. I'm concerned you might do collusion. But so Rebbe Elchanan argues, if the loiva does not admit, the opposite of Rebbe Eliezer. Rebbe Eliezer says we're talking about that the loiva doesn't admit, but if he admits, everybody agrees you should give it back. Rebbe Eliezer says the opposite. We're talking about machlokes when he admits, but when he doesn't admit, do not give it back. The chashin and liperoin, because of concern that he might have paid it back. So once we have a brayso that says exactly Rabbi Yochanan, so that will be a refutation. Yeah, that's too much for me. A contradiction to Rabbi Elazar. The Gemara says to the Rabbi Elazar b'chada, but the Gemara actually is going to ask two questions on Rabbi Elazar. The Gemara says no, but it equals one. So we're going to say, Mamish, Chazara, Rabbi say, no big deal here. But what we're going to see here is word for word what Rebbe Elchanan says. That what? The top wide line. Nothing new here. You found a loan document and it says that it's attached to real estate. Even if the loiva admits that he owes money, I'm concerned about what? Kenunya. There's a big problem with Rebbe Elazar. Says, I'm not concerned with Kenunya. If it's not attached to real estate, if the loiva admits, give it back to the malva. Admit, because what's the worst case scenario? You're not gonna collect real estate because there's no attachment to real estate. What are you gonna take? Metaltalin? Good. he admits that he owes money. And if the loiva doesn't admit, he shouldn't return it to anybody, says Rameir. Here it says Mefurish that according to Rameir, if there's a chrayis nechasim, if there's real estate attached, you obviously could take the real estate. Here, this is important. If there's no attachment to real estate, you could take metaltal. So this is literally word for word. Rabbi Yochanan says that according to Chachamim, the concern is that you're going to take from the real estate. So this is a cash on Reb Eliezer on one thing. Damar, according to Reb Eliezer, Damar l'Remeir shtar shemer achrayis l'chazim any government mishubadav lo minachazim minachayim v'ka'amar bein l'Remeir bein l'Rabbanan lo yichayshina l'knunya. We just established that according to the Raisa, you are concerned that there's going to be collusion. Over Reb Eliezer says there's no concern for collusion. And here's another question. And notice how we said there's only one question. Now there's another question. It says in the Brisa that a shtar that doesn't have an attachment to real estate, you only could you don't collect from real estate because there's no mention of real estate in shtar. But from metaltalin you could collect. So again, according to Reb Eliezer, we said when there's no achrayis, there's no real estate mentioned in the shtar, you don't collect at all. And the Brisa says you do collect from b'nei chayrim. Again, according to Reb Eliezer, you don't collect at all, and in the Brisa is mefurish, not like Reb Eliezer, that you do collect from metaltal. According to Reb Eliezer, we're not concerned about a collusion. And over it says you are concerned with collusion. Ask the Gemara, v'hani tartiu. So that's in fact two questions on Reb Eliezer. Says the Gemara, chadahu, d'chatamu. We count it as one. You're right, it's two questions. We count it as one. Why? Because the source is one. Why? Because how do all the questions start? The questions start because Reb Eliezer says a pshat. And on the pshat, we have two questions. The mishum d'kamer Reb Eliezer machloikis b'shem chayiv moed. Right? Take a look at this for a second. The whole machlokes between Reb Eliezer and Rabbi Yochanan is Reb Eliezer says we're talking about a case that the loiva doesn't admit. If the loiva doesn't admit, now I have two questions on you. First of all, if the loiva doesn't admit, why should you give it back? Why give it back? That's question number one. And the answer is Reb Eliezer says you're right. We don't give it back. The other question is he was forced to say there's no knunya. Why? Because if you're telling me that if the loiva admits, you should give it back. Why? What about Knunya? No, I hold there's no Knunya. But anyways, the point is, these two questions are because he says that the loiva doesn't admit. So the two that come from one, that's what the Gemara meant to say. Rebbe Elazar, machlokes b'shein chayiv moedahu mutar tzachi, and that's why we have the questions. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day. This is the last test, Rabbi Sai. Shir lam halo, soy na halo, remayin Rabbi Zvi.